All right, forget everything you think you know about old, stuffy history lessons. Because today, we're talking about a real superstar. I'm talking about a rock star who sold out massive concert halls, had crowds literally screaming her name, and she did all this 100 years before rock and roll was even a thing. So, think about the biggest stars on your playlist right now, the ones selling out huge stadiums on world tours. Got them in your head? Okay, now what if I told you that one of the most legendary touring artists ever lived nearly 200 years ago? Well, get ready to meet Clara Schumann. And listen, she wasn't just some dusty historical figure you'd see in a painting. No way. She was an absolute force of nature, a total game changer who completely flipped the script on what a musician, and especially a woman, was even allowed to be. Okay, so every superstar has an origin story, right? And Clara's? It's basically like something out of a superhero movie. But here's the thing. Her superpower wasn't from a spider bite or a science experiment. Nah. It was forged through an absolutely insane amount of hard work that started when she was just a little kid, like before she could even really read. Just look at this timeline. It shows the grind. Seriously. At 5 years old, her dad had her practicing piano for hours, every single day. Think about that. It's like a pro gamer dedicating their entire life to leveling up their skills. And the results were insane. By age 9, she's already making her debut in a massive concert hall. And as a teenager, boom, she's on a full-blown European tour playing for literal kings and queens. I mean, this was just unheard of back then. And then there's this. This might be the ultimate boss move in music history. See, back then, every musician performed with their sheet music right there on a stand. It was just how it was done. But Clara, she walked out on stage with nothing. Zero sheet music. She played some of the most complex, most difficult pieces ever written, all from memory. You can just imagine the audiences completely stunned. It was such a power move, and it made her stand out from absolutely everyone. So, being the best performer on the planet, yeah, that wasn't enough for her. Clara needed to create. She had her own stories to tell, you know? It was time to find her own, unique sound. And you can really see her evolution as an artist right here. Her early stuff, I like to think of it as the trick shots. It was super fast, really flashy, music designed to show off her incredible skill and make people's jaws hit the floor. But as she got older, her music changed. It shifted from just flash to real feeling. Her later work is so deep, so emotional, and super personal. It's almost like listening to a page from her diary. Now, she was a major player in this huge movement in art called Romanticism. And the best way to get it is to think of it as the original In My Feelings era. Seriously, instead of just following a bunch of boring, strict rules, composers like Clara started using music to express huge personal emotions. All the drama, the love, the sadness. It was all about telling a story and setting a vibe, kind of like how your favorite hype tracks or sad songs do today. Okay, so let's recap. She's a world-famous touring pianist and a brilliant composer. That is a lot. But what was happening behind the scenes was a whole other story. Clara was juggling way, way more than anybody knew. And she was facing these massive challenges that honestly would have crushed most people. And this quote, this really shows the kind of pressure she was under. She wrote this in her own private diary. Just think about that. Society back then was constantly telling women that they just couldn't compose, that it wasn't their place. Can you imagine being one of the most gifted people alive, but you still have this little voice of doubt in your head just because of what everyone around you keeps saying? So let's break it down, video game style. These were her daily quests, okay? And she was playing life on the absolute hardest difficulty setting. Not only was she a world-famous concert pianist and a creative composer, she was also the household manager, a mother to 8 kids, and a supportive partner to her husband, Robert Schumann, who was another famous composer. I mean, the amount of stuff she had to balance every single day, it's just mind-blowing. But here's the cool part. Clara wasn't doing all this alone. She was at the very center of this elite crew, like a legendary squad of the most talented music creators of the era. You could honestly call her the ultimate music influencer of her time. And check out her inner circle. You've got her husband, Robert, who was her #1 collaborator. Then there's the legendary Johannes Brahms. He was her lifelong friend. They would share their work, give each other super honest feedback, the kind you could only get from a true friend. And she was also tight with other big names like Felix Mendelssohn. She wasn't just in the scene, she was at the center of it, helping shape the entire sound of her generation. So why does all this matter so much today? Well, because for a really long time, her incredible story was basically just ignored, pushed to the side. She was treated like a tiny footnote in the much bigger stories of the famous men in her life. But here's the good news. That is finally changing. But that brings up a really big question, doesn't it? If she was this amazing, this much of a rock star, why was her music pretty much forgotten for so long? I mean, why isn't her name as well known as, say, Beethoven or Mozart?
Well, the answer is pretty simple, and honestly, it's really frustrating. For more than a century, the people writing the history books, they just didn't take female composers seriously. It's as simple as that. They focused all their attention on her husband Robert or her friend Brahms, and meanwhile, her own incredible music was just left to gather dust on a shelf, totally ignored.
But the story does not end there, because in the last few decades, things have started to completely turn around. Musicians, historians, they've been rediscovering her work, and people are finally realizing that she wasn't just an amazing piano player. She was a truly brilliant composer and an absolute pioneer. And her impact today is huge. I mean, her music is being performed in the biggest, most famous concert halls all over the world. She completely shattered stereotypes and proved that women could not only compete, but could dominate in a field run by men. She even preserved a huge piece of music history by editing and publishing all of her husband's work after he passed away. It's no wonder her story inspires so many creators today. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. Clara Schumann wasn't just a great musician. She was a trailblazer. In a world that constantly tried to put her in a box and tell her what she couldn't do, she became a world-class performer, a groundbreaking composer, an icon who simply refused to be silenced. And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about, right? Her story proves how easily true genius can be overlooked. So it makes you wonder, who are the brilliant creators, the amazing artists, the innovators out there today from groups that we might be ignoring right now? Whose stories do we need to make sure don't get lost?